You know, there's probably no more mundane police activity than what we call the traffic stop, the routine traffic stop, the unknown risk traffic stop, whatever name you use for it. It's a basic police activity. And it is, in fact, a very dangerous one. Statistically, in fact, officers are killed in traffic accidents and in assaults during traffic stops. And when you start adding it up, you see it is a very, very dangerous activity. Now, and a lot of times a traffic accident death may have been an officer initiating a traffic stop and getting injured or killed by failing to attend to that first risk. And that is the fact that you are in an active roadway when you're engaged in traffic enforcement. You decide to stop that vehicle, you are going to have to deal with that roadway. And what are the things that we have? Other traffic. What about the lay of the land? Are you in a hilly area? Are people suddenly going to just discover you as they crest the hill, which is where we don't want to be? As they come around a corner, are you going to be there out of your vehicle walking up on that traffic stop? This is why you've got to constantly look at the entire content of the area you're at. What does the roadway present and what are the traffic conditions present as hazards or risks to you? Now, one of the things I want you to always think about in law enforcement is balancing risk. How we balance that risk is, first off, the number one thing we can control is what we do. So where we position our vehicle, how we make our approaches, these are all things we can control. And I know a lot of you say, no, that's not true. I'm on a bridge and I got to make a stop. It's a public assist or whatever it is. I can't avoid it. There's going to be the bridge. There's going to be the guardrail, those kind of things. Yes, I understand, but you can give yourself additional distance. You can make sure you illuminate it. You can call for backup to assist, to protect you in an extreme traffic condition. These are things that you have to take into account. Yes, I understand there are times where you're going to have to take a risk. The point is we balance risk. We say, I see this risk, I understand it, I'm going to compensate for it and control it. Now, besides the roadway, the curves, the hills, the valleys, the environment itself presents unique hazards. And every one of you know what it is to make a traffic stop in the middle of a storm, whether it's a thunderstorm, whether it's a snowstorm, a windstorm, whatever it is, those create unique risks. Now, unless this is an absolute must-do traffic stop, you got to evaluate, is there a place I can go to where it's safe, covered, or protected? And if no, then you got to, again, compensate for it. Is it limiting the vision of oncoming and drivers from either direction? How is it creating a risk for you? Some of them are almost feelings, and that's one of the things we talk about, trust your gut. Trust your gut. Now, the third risk factor, we've gone from the roadway, the environment. Now let's talk about the vehicle itself. The occupants of that vehicle and the vehicle have to be taken into account. Is there a unique problem? We'll talk that in another show about unique and specific problems from different kinds of vehicles. But some vehicles present a unique problem. We want to compensate for that. But during the traffic stop, how many occupants do I see? I see one, all right? Remember the rule of +1. I expect to see a second occupant or find a second occupant in that vehicle. Am I controlling the vehicle? Have I directed them? Have I stopped them where I want to stop them? Do they appear compliant? Now, as I'm making my approach to the vehicle and I'm observing the whole situation, am I still maintaining my awareness? Is that trunk secure? Is that back door secure? As I look in, are the occupants copacetic? Are they doing normal things? And one of the keys to mastery of safety is not just seeing things that are hinky, but seeing things that are missing that should normally be present. You got a car full of people and no one's looking back at you, that might be a cue that something may be wrong. What's the demeanor of the occupants? What's the demeanor of the driver? How you make your approach is so critical and so important. What is their initial response? And remember this, there's never a rush. Take time, make an evaluation. I look, I see, I pay attention to my feelings. This is what the gut's about. This car doesn't feel right. I'm bringing this driver back to me. All right, you've made the stop, you've got control, you've got a great roadway, great environmental conditions, you decide to make your approach. Now you go up, how do they comply? How do they respond? Are they able to get you all the documentation you need safely and effectively? Now you want to move safely to your vehicle, whatever technique you use, officers. And again, I've heard so many debates and so many seminars and conferences in my life. And I'm not going to tell you there's only one way. If you want to back to your vehicle, if you want to crab walk. One thing I say though is don't turn your back on the occupants and walk back. That's a don't do, absolutely. Whatever way you move, that's up to you. And I heard all the arguments for and against different kind of movements, so I'm not going to judge. What are your agency policies? Nothing I say here in any way attempts to replace any of your agency's policies or procedures, but I want you to be keeping what's up here ready at all times. Are you evaluating all your threats? Remembering, we're breaking it down into just 3 threat areas: the roadway, the environment, the subject vehicle. I suggest you break up, don't fall into a particular habit, don't always approach vehicles the same way, but remember this: evaluate your threats, balance your risks, think about your positioning, think about your approach, think about your disengage. The final part of a traffic stop is when you're going to re-engage that violator vehicle into traffic flow, and you are going to re-enter traffic flow. And that's a critically important moment. So never forget, your traffic stop's not over till you are back in the flow of traffic. So once again, the traffic stop, it begins when you in your mind says, I'm going to stop that vehicle. The evaluation process occurs, the stop occurs, and then the reintegration in the moving traffic. All have risks, all require you to keep your head in the game the whole time, and that's the key to this. There's no such thing as a risk-free traffic stop. I'm not going to, and I can't tell you what it's going to look like when you face that risk. That's why you've got to be mentally prepared for that novel crisis, that incident, that critical moment when you've got to respond, keeping your head in the game, even in these most mundane of all police activities, the traffic stop.